They used to think that making attachments secure and to help create secure children was to have the parents limit interaction with them. They used to like, you're doing too much, like don't like pick them up, don't make eye contact, you're doing too much. So they were like, if you want a secure child, you basically have to make them feel emotionally abandoned in that sense. And then they later discovered, oh, this is incredibly damaging and traumatic to the kids, and it's causing very adverse reactions.
Yeah.
And so now they're like, oh, bonding is that appropriate. So to be secure in that space, children, infants, they need to have that stable parent, not the never let them fall, not the never, the over the helicopter, which I was like, I will, like, how much can I be, in their space? But it is that like healthy bonding with them. So I'm really grateful that wherever they started isn't where they're landing, because we need interaction. And it used to be programmed that actually you're supposed to be secure on your own. You're not supposed to need anybody or need anything, and everything you get is within yourself, and you don't need connection. You don't need any of that. And if you do, then you're anxious or something wrong with you. And now they're like, actually, that's not entirely accurate, and that is traumatic.
Turns out it might actually have something to do with your childhood. It might have to do with how you attached to your primary caregivers way back in the day.
Yeah.
So there's anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, disorganized attachment style, and then secure attachment, right?
And there's so many spinoffs. Like I've heard so many, but I can't get all those. So these are the ones we'll, I guess.
I feel like it's like everything else, where it's always on a spectrum.
Yeah.
Where what we've at least experienced over the course of our relationship, as well as once we started looking at attachment styles and how they showed up in our life and in our relationship, it is very much a spectrum where in like the main attachment style that I have in our relationship is avoidant, where I will commonly do the avoidant behaviors when it comes to connection with you. And I feel like would you say your main one is anxious, or do you feel like you're disorganized?
I'm definitely disorganized because it depends on the day of where I'm at. I think the one that I fight with you the most anymore is avoidant.
What do you mean by fight with me? Like when I'm avoidant?
No, I try to not. Like I fight to keep myself from avoidant. And I seem to like bypass it. I very, very avoidant. And then I hop right past secure and go into anxious. And then a lot of times punish myself for feeling anxious and go back into like, this is why you're avoidant. This is why, keeping that distance. So that's a brief thing. That's just like a brief description. Obviously there's a lot more, but I'm feeling a lot more avoidant. I have anxious moments, and when I have them and I feel like I almost get like bitter, like I get a little resentful a little bit with the anxious moments.
When you're in those anxious moments.
And then
do you feel like that push is getting you out into that, like like you're avoidant of the anxious attachment because you're feeling, does that feel like weak or?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I view it as weak. Absolutely. And I know it's not, and I wouldn't say that to anybody else, but for me,
that's
the
what
programming,
like, huh?
that's what it was. If I needed this, I was weak. And if I had a need, then it wasn't going to get met. And if I needed it to be met, then that put me in a vulnerable situation. And I don't like having needs that can't be met by me. I do not like that. And I have them. I absolutely have them. And that doesn't mean it's anybody else's responsibility to meet them. And I have to be okay when it's not, because they're natural. And I have healthy needs with you. I also have unhealthy, but I have healthy needs. But it doesn't mean that when I have a need, I'm like happy about it. Of course, when you meet them and when and we have that space, then I'm like, oh, everything's fine. But I don't like having them. But I do get a really big sense of pride in myself when I don't need you to meet them and I can meet them myself. And I feel safer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have
Where's the Nicole? I can't even say. Are we going to do Nicole LaPeres?
Yeah. We're going to get to that.
I feel like I'm in the hot seat over here.
We're going to get to that.
You said you were avoidant, and why don't you share a little bit about that?
Well, I was going to ask you.
You asked me enough questions. I have answered your questions. Your turn. Hot seat. Light a fire.
I think it's interesting because it's almost like we take turns flipping back and forth, right? Where I will be, if you're not in the anxious role, then it feels strange on some level. And I feel like I will then feel that role. And then vice versa, where it doesn't feel great when we're both avoidant. It's like something's missing. And then it's one of us will step into that anxious role. Those two dynamics, the anxious and the avoidant, I feel like not only are they our most accustomed, right? The disorganized one, I need to read up some more on and look at a little bit more.
Babe, we're describing disorganized.
Oh, okay.
This is like, cool. We are fluent and disorganized.
So yeah.
We are textbook disorganized.
Turns out we're disorganized.
Right, we are definitely.
That's surprise. I'm shocked because we're super organized in all other aspects of our life, right? Super squared away. So yeah. Okay, yeah. I guess that makes sense then.
Yeah.
Where it's just the combination of the two.
Yeah.
And like, truthfully, when we started looking at these and unpacking these more, it was really surprising to me to find other areas in my life where I was anxious, like anxiously attached, and starting to look at it and be like, okay, why? Right? What does that come from? Where is that? Because it almost feels like when I'm solidly in that avoidant state, it's very protective. I feel very activated in those moments. It's very much leave me alone. I'll figure this out by myself. I don't need anything from you.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, you're avoidant. I mean, I don't know what mine feels like to you, but your avoidant is intense.
Yeah.
And it used to very much trigger the anxious in me. And now I feel like it triggers the peace out in me. So it's interesting. Please keep going. I want to
Well, it does. It does very much feel like a big old fuck you to everybody around me, and just leave me alone.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody interfering with my space, right? And I put up all these big shields and blocks and grumpy faces and attitudes and energies and things like that in order to stay isolated. And then the anxious one feels anxious. It feels super panicky. It feels like I don't know what's happening. I don't feel at ease. I'm not, it's like, what's going on? Are you okay? Are you upset? What's angry? It's all the emotional monitoring. It's all that people pleasing. Mm-hmm. And I don't like the way either of them feel.
Yeah.
The secure attachment is something that we are continually working towards. And I don't feel comfortable in those spaces either.
We were meant to be. We were meant to be.